with Brady in an interview. Had to chase him down, but you got the interview, and there's a lot to get into. It's on ESPN.com. We decided to come up with the 5 things that we didn't expect Brady to say in this interview. Family Feud style. We'll put the top 5 on the board, and let's start with the first one. The first thing we didn't expect Tom Brady to say, and here's the quote: "I really believe if a lot of people were in my shoes, they could accomplish the same kinds of things," close quote. He doesn't call himself a system quarterback, but he gives credit to the system when he said that. What was your reaction when you heard what he had to say?
Well, I think it's humility, for one, publicly anyway. And he's saying, I have the greatest coach of all time. I've got a great system that gets the ball out of my hands, protects me as I've aged. But at the end of the day, he appeared on the Madden cover, the EA Sports game, under the title GOAT Edition. He knows he's the greatest quarterback of all time. He knows he's surpassed his idol, Joe Montana. I asked him that question, and he wouldn't really go there, but I think deep down it's just something he wants to keep privately inside. But he has 7 conference championships to 4 for Montana, 5 to 4 in rings. Yeah. He's got 75 more rings than victories than Joe Montana in the regular season and postseason. I don't really think it's even a debate anymore.
I would say this. I think he is showing some humility, but most of the players, 90% of the players that come to the National Football League, is system fit for their success. You mentioned Joe Montana. Can you imagine Joe Montana going into a system not like the West Coast? Probably not Joe Montana, right? So he makes what his point is a little bit credible, but I think what makes him so amazing, he's had to do it with different players around him. This is why he's so great. Yeah. I mean, he's never had the same cast of players, it seems, year after year.
He's been the constant. And really only one Hall of Fame caliber wide receiver in Randy Moss. Otherwise.
And Gronk, if he can stay healthy.
If he can stay healthy. All right, so the second thing that we didn't expect Brady to say, and I still don't know that I believe it, he eats cheeseburgers. The quote is, I'm just not going to do that 5 nights a week, not if I want to keep playing football at a high level, close that quote. Ian, I'm picturing him eating some of the, flaxseed patty, quinoa cheeseburgers. Are we talking about actual cheeseburgers, A? And B, was this sincere on his part, or was he just trying to sound like an everyman?
I think it was an actual cheeseburger, and he was sincere. I said, when's the last time you did eat one? Yeah. And he thought about it, and he said, in February on a skiing trip with my family in Montana, at a mountaintop burger joint, I had a cheeseburger, and I will occasionally eat one. So I think that makes all of us feel a little bit better about it. But he's got his trainer and life coach, Alex Guerrero, who runs him through a lot of exotic exercise regimens and diets, and that's what is basically keeping him young and keeping him on the field.
He's Captain America. You get to eat a cheeseburger every once in a while.
Every once in a while. As long as you follow it up.
Captain America eats a cheeseburger. That's good to know.
Followed up with avocado ice cream and, no tomatoes on the cheeseburger. All right, so the third thing we didn't expect Tom Brady to say, Tom Brady on Gisele's influence, right? His wife, Gisele Bundchen, his influence, or her influence rather, on the length of his career. She makes decisions for our family that I've got to deal with. Hopefully she never says, look, this has to be it, close quote. So, Ian, he says in the article he wants to play till his mid-40s, acknowledges it's about 45. And then he says, my kids are growing up really fast. How does he balance that drive to play with the understandable commitment he has at home?
Well, he brought up his wife in my phone interview with him, and he said basically she's going to call the shots on it, pretty much. She calls the shots around here on a lot of things. But Gisele Bundchen, as I wrote in my piece on ESPN.com, her dynasty in modeling is more impressive than his. It goes back to 2002. Forbes said she's earned more than every model every year since 2002, $20 million more than number 2 last year, which was Adriana Lima, Matt Harvey's former girlfriend.
Sure.
And so I do think he will listen to her, but I'll say this. I think she's going to keep him on the field. She knows what it takes to be the best in the world at something, and that's where her husband is right now next to her. I think she's going to want to continue to see him compete as long as he can.
You married?
Yeah.
You married?
Yes.
Yeah. Married.
Yeah.
Happy wife, happy life, right? Make your wife happy, everything's good. So that's just normal for all of us.
Okay.
That's normal.
I'll say this, though. She's been critical of the team in the past, and I get the feeling if the team wrongs him in some way, in her mind at least, if she is calling the shots, she could say, you don't need this.
Who doesn't call the shots in your house?
She was.
My wife does too.
It's not me. Okay. I'm 4th on the depth chart in my own house. All right, the 4th surprising thing we didn't expect Brady to say. This was about the man who stole his Super Bowl jersey. Remember that whole kerfuffle there? He said, should he go to jail? No, absolutely not. I don't like conflict. It's just inherent in who I am. Close that quote. If that's me, I'm probably trying to set an example with this guy to deter future people from doing it. How sincere was he when he told you that?
I think he was very sincere in this answer. And I was standing at his locker when he realized, when he looked in his bag and said, hey, my jersey's gone. Where is it? He kind of looked at the reporters who were gathered around his locker like we were suspects. And I guess in a sense we were, right? And so I saw how that really unnerved him. It violated his perfect night. He was really upset about that. So I said, hey, this guy did something really mean to you on one of your greatest nights, if not your greatest night, and don't you want to see him in jail? He said, I don't want to see anyone get in trouble. So I pressed him on it, and I asked him a second time, did you not want to see this guy do jail time for a pretty serious offense? And he said, I don't like conflict. It's just who I am. It's inherent in who I am. And I think what he was saying there is, I don't like conflict off the field. He's not a confrontational person, but on the field, he hunts it and he seeks it. And I think there are two different Tom Brady's there at work, and I think we saw it in that answer.
I think given all he's been put through over the last couple of years, too, I think you'd be a little shy of conflict off the field as well. All right, the fifth thing that we didn't expect Brady to say in this interview with Ian O'Connor that you can see on ESPN.com, talking about rings. He said, quote, the great part is the next one for me is number 6 and not number 1, close quote. There are very few people who can say something like that. What was your discussion like, Ian, when you asked him about the drive now for number 6?
Well, I said, listen, I was on Jack Nicklaus's airplane once where he said if he knew Tiger Woods was coming along, he would try to take his record of 18 and push it to 19, 20, 21. Obviously, now it doesn't look like Tiger's going to get there anyway. Do you want to push your record out of Super Bowl rings just to make sure the next guy who comes along can't catch you? And I brought up Michael Jordan, and a lot of guys, whether it's Jeter, Magic Johnson, Kobe Bryant, Tim Duncan, couldn't catch him at 6. And that's the way these guys keep scoring. He just said, listen, I want to win number 6 for my teammates, not for myself, and not to match my idols. I don't know if he was quite sincere on that one, because I think the superstars and icons in sports, that is the way they keep score.
He makes a great point. They do. They always propel themselves against the next great athletes. And doesn't matter what sport you're in, what is the bar? And he's trying to set a new bar.
When you're at the top of your mountain, you start looking around for other mountains. And it sounds like Tom Brady's doing that, putting himself in the competition with Michael Jordan. Although I guess you did. He just answered the question.
That's right.
Again, you can see it on ESPN. You can read it on ESPN.com. Ian O'Connor, the extended sit-down with